What next one? Now, not doing it.
Madam, start in madam. Just started. Madam. Start.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం అండి. ఈరోజు నిర్మాణ్ లైవ్ సెషన్ కి స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం. పాఠశాల విద్యాశాఖ మరియు సమగ్ర శిక్ష యూనిసెఫ్ విజ్ఞానాశ్రమం వారి సహకారంతో ఈ రోజు లైవ్ సెషన్ కి స్వాగతం. ఈ రోజు లైవ్ సెషన్ లో భాగంగా మనకు టీచింగ్ ల్యాబ్ లో మనం ఈ రోజు తయారు చేసే ప్రాజెక్ట్ ని ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు విజ్ఞానాశ్రమం వాళ్ళు. వారి యొక్క సలహాలని సూచనలని అనుసరించి మీరందరూ కూడా మళ్ళీ ఈ ప్రాజెక్ట్ ని తయారు చేసి మనకి నెక్స్ట్ లైవ్ సెషన్ వచ్చేటప్పటికల్లా మీరందరూ మీ ల్యాబ్స్ లో కొత్త ప్రాజెక్ట్ ని తయారు చేయవలసిందిగా వచ్చింది. తర్వాత ఈ లైవ్ సెషన్ మీరందరూ ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తున్నారు కదా. సో ఈ లైవ్ సెషన్ కి మనం వాళ్ళకి టైం ఇద్దాము. వెల్కమ్ టు వెంకటేష్ అండ్ అదర్ టీమ్. ఓవర్ టు వెంకట్.
హాయ్ పిల్లలు, ఎలా ఉన్నారు? సో ఈరోజు మీకు ఒక సరికొత్త టాపిక్ తో మళ్ళీ వచ్చాము. సో లాస్ట్ సెషన్ లో మీరు 3D డిజైన్ ఎలా తయారు చేయాలి, షేప్స్ ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేయాలి, 2D అండ్ 3D సో నేర్చుకోవడం జరిగింది కదా. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏంటంటే డిజైనింగ్ అండ్ ప్రోటోటైపింగ్ అంటే మన ATL ల్యాబ్ లో ఉన్న 3D ప్రింటర్ పరికరాన్ని యూజ్ చేసి మనం 3D ప్రోటోటైప్ ఎలా తయారు చేయాలి, అది ఎలా ప్రింట్ ఇవ్వాలనేది మనం ఇప్పుడు నేర్చుకోబోతున్నాం. సో మా ఫ్రెండ్ కొలీగ్ మీకు వివరంగా చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది ఇప్పుడు. సో ఓవర్ టు మై ఫ్రెండ్ కొలీగ్ మనోజ్.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Venkatesh. Welcome back to another weekly online session, guys. So yeah, last week we had seen how to design a keychain, right? So how to do the 2D drawing, then how to 3D design the same model in a Tinkercad software. So today what we'll be doing is that I'll be explaining you how the 3D printer works, so about its history, and also I'll be teaching you how to 3D print the same design in the 3D printers available in your labs. Okay, so let's move on to the presentation part. So yeah, so last week we saw what is 2D drawing and 2D modeling, right? So now I'll teach you how to 3D print the same model, and also how to maintain that particular machine. Okay, so each and every machine requires the maintenance part. So I'll be teaching you how to maintain that and also how to 3D print. So okay, we have completed with the designing part. uh, now it's about prototyping. Okay, so today what we'll be focusing is that uh, what is prototyping, its type, and then what is 3D printing, about its origin as well as its history. Okay, so each and every component which we use in our day-to-day life has some history behind it. Okay, and also let's also look into what are the advantages as well as the disadvantages of the 3D printing. Okay, and then at the end let's discuss about uh, what are the applications of 3D printing. Okay, so now does anybody know what is prototyping? If you know, you can just drop some text onto your chat box. Okay, so yeah, prototyping is nothing but we will be designing some machine, right? For example, we'll be designing some uh, car. So for that car, we need to know how does it work, because before sending it to a mass production factory, we have to test that particular car. That's how each and every machines in our day-to-day life has been manufactured. Okay, first part will be they'll be making a prototype of that similar model. Okay, and then if that works, only then they'll move on to that full scale production part. Okay, so now you got to know what is prototyping, and now let's see. There are some different types of manufacturing. Okay, among them we have two major type, that's called as additive manufacturing, and the second one is called as subtractive manufacturing. Okay, so in additive manufacturing, what happens is that we'll be adding some materials to that layer and we'll be moving that manufacturing process ahead. So when it comes to subtractive manufacturing, what happens is that there will be a particular uh, uh, beam or a sheet of material. That material will be removing that edges and will be providing some shape to that particular machine. Okay, so you can see this additive manufacturing part. Here you can see there are layers of there is each layer being added one over the other, right? So here we can see there is no much material wastage, right? So when it comes to the subtractive manufacturing, you can see all these materials are getting wasted, right? So we'll be removing materials to give some shape to it. Okay, so now we got to know what's the difference between additive manufacturing and subtractive manufacturing. Now moving on to the next slide, let's see what is 3D printing. Okay, so 3D printing, it's an innovating manufacturing technique. So here what we do is that the 3D model, 3D means it will be having length, breadth, as well as thickness, right? So so we will be printing that particular uh, what product. So that product will be manufactured in a layer by layer process. So layer by layer process, in the sense, first one layer will be printed, above that one layer will be printed, above that the layer will be printed. So what happens when we add the layers and go, so its thickness increases. So that's how we get the 3D printed model. Okay. Now let's look into the history part. So in history, 1983, uh, Hidoi Kodama had patented a model like, so he had manufactured a resin. Resin is nothing but uh, a liquid. Okay, so that liquid resin and some hardener will be put in. So they'll mix the resin and hardener, and then they'll apply some UV light, in the sense ultraviolet light. You know, right? Ultraviolet lights. So there are different types of light rays from sun. So we have ultraviolet rays, we have IR rays. There are multiple lights, right? So using UV light, that particular liquid model was being solidified. Solidified is nothing but the liquid will be turned into another state of matter called as solid. So liquid to solid. So that is called as solidifying. Okay. So then what happened in 1986? Stereolithography was being manufactured, was being invented. So stereolithography is nothing but, so here what happens? They'll put the mold. So into that mold, there will be some resin and hardener put in. So what happens is that the laser light is there, right? So laser light will travel across that model shape, and then wherever the laser light falls, that particular portion will become hard. Okay. So then we can get that product out of that design, this one manufacturing process. So in 1990s, there was something called as fused deposition molding and selective laser sintering technologies invented. So fused deposition molding is nothing but the 3D printing technique. Okay. So, but that was in a huge scale. So it was around a room size for manufacturing. So in selective laser sintering, what happens is that the powdered liquid, powdered material is there, right? So that powder material will be rolled into the mold. Mold is nothing but the shape of that product. Okay, so we'll be having a mold. Onto that, the powder will be put in. Above that powder, the laser light will be traced. So when the laser light traces around that model, what happens is that the fine powdered particle will turn into liquid. Okay, so later on, all those matters will combine together and form into that particular model or that product. Okay, so in later on in 2000s, what happens is that the 3D printer is there, right? That 3D printer was being manufactured in a small scale. So one the fused deposition model, which modeling which was huge, was being made compact. Compact is nothing but made small. Okay, which can be handy. So that 3D printers are the ones which are available in your schools. Okay, I think a few of the schools are still not using the 3D printers, but by the end of the session, you'll be having some idea how to use it. Okay. So now let's see the flowchart of the procedure for a manufacturing. Okay. So first thing is that we need the design. So from where does the design come from? We have something called as design thinking, right? So in design thinking, what happens is that you will be finding some problem. For that particular problem, you'll be finding some solution. Okay. So for that solution to work, we'll be designing some product, right? So that is nothing but design thinking procedure. Okay. So that design, if we require some 3D model, what we do, the first step, we had done that 2D drawing, right? Two-dimensional drawing in the previous session. That two-dimensional drawing will be first done. First we'll be doing that. Then we'll be making that two-dimensional, out of that two-dimensional drawing, we'll be making a three-dimensional model in which that Tinkercad we had used, right? So it's not just Tinkercad. We'll be also using some softwares called as Solid Edge, SolidWorks, Fusion 360, and then CATIA. So there are multiple designing softwares across our internet. Okay. So why I am choosing this Tinkercad software is that Tinkercad software is the basic designing platform. So once you learn the basic concept of designing using Tinkercad software, you'll be able to do the next high-end softwares later on. Okay. So first part was designing. So later on, after designing, we did the modeling in Tinkercad. What did we do? We had done that keychain, right? So did you all do that keychain in your schools designing part? I hope you all have done. If not, we have to do it later on. Okay. So just take some laptop or computer. You can just go to Tinkercad, make a keychain of your school. Okay. So once that is done, next procedure is called as slicing. Slicing is nothing but I said that layer by layer process, right? So that excuse me. So that slicing will be done using that software called as Factory, which we have in our labs. So in your schools, you'll be having some other software for the printers available in your schools. Okay. So each and every software will be having its each and every printer will be having its own softwares. So you have to find out the software of which your school has. It's easy. You will be having that 3D printer, right? There will be some name written on it. So just go and search that name in Google and ask for the 3D printing software for that. You'll be getting that link. You can just download it. Okay. So once you download, you have to select that model, that 2D model which we designed, right? In Tinkercad, we'll be saving that. That model will be selecting and taking it into the software. Okay. So that software, what it does is that it cuts that model into slices. So you have mangoes and all, right? You won't eat the mangoes and all directly. You'll be cutting it, right? So similarly, we'll be cutting the design. If the thickness is so much, we'll be cutting it into slices. Okay, just like the cake how we cut. Okay, that's called as slicing. So once the slicing is done, we'll be giving that product printing. Okay, so we'll be taking the G codes. From the G codes, we'll be taking the using the pen drive. We'll be transferring transferring the G codes to printer. So what the printer does is that in slicing software, what happens is that it will give a G code in such a way that where the nozzle and the bed should move. Okay, so each the nozzle will be moving, right? So which direction it should move to obtain that particular model will be doing using the slicing software. So with that G codes, the nozzle and the bed will be moving. Okay, so once that moves, the printing starts. So once the printing is done, next process is called as post processing. Post processing nothing but there will be some skirts or brims for providing for holding that design onto the bed. Okay, so we'll be removing that, and if there are supports, we'll be removing that also. Supports we give just because if you are building a home, you can see some rods being kept to hold the molding part, right? So the molding will be having some support to until it dries. So similar kind of supports will be giving in 3D printing also. Okay, now let's look into what are the advantages and disadvantages of 3D printing. Okay, so when it comes to advantages, the first thing is that rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is nothing but we can get the prototype done within few hours. Okay, when it comes to other type of manufacturing like casting, molding and all, we need to prepare the mold first and then we have to make the design. Okay, that will take some 1 week time to get a prototype. So when it comes to 3D printing, we can get the model done within 1 day, maximum 1 day. If it's complex, it may take 1 or 2 days. If it's simple, you can get it within hours. Okay, so what happens? we'll be having the idea of how the final product looks like. Okay, using 3D printer. Got it? So next thing is that design flexibility. So however the complex the design is, you can get the 3D printer done easily. Okay. Next is reduced cost. Reduced cost will be just for making one prototype. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to other types of manufacturing, it might cost more for one model. Okay. Just to make one particular prototype. Okay. So when it comes to other types of manufacturing, the amount might go high. So here the cost will be low. Next is material exploration. So here, excuse me. So here what happens is that we can use so many materials. So different types of materials are there called as ABS, PLA, then polycarbonate. So there are n number of materials which can be used in 3D printing process. Okay, even metal can be 3D metal can be 3D printer. So for that particular 3D printer, we have some advanced level of manufacturing technology there. Okay, so now we just saw what are the advantages. Let's move on to the disadvantages part. So when it comes to disadvantages, the resolution and accuracy is not that much. Okay, so resolution and accuracy is nothing but we won't get the complete proper design. So interiorly, I'm saying. So externally, it might look good. Interiorly, we won't get that proper finishing and all. Okay. And next part is that material properties. So as the 3D printers which we are using in our schools are using those plastic materials, the material properties are too low. We and also as it's layer by layer process, it can be easily broken. Okay, you can just make a model out of it. That's it. So next part is that production scale. As I said previously, if you are making just one product, it's cost effective. So if you want to make that same product like 100 pieces, this won't work out because the cost of that spool is itself one roll itself is around 1.52k. Okay, so if you are doing multiple manufacturing out of that, or if you are trying to make a high scale manufacturing using 3D printing, it won't be a good business for you. Okay, so now we just saw what are the advantages and disadvantages. Now let's move on to the application part. Okay, so application is nothing but where for what purpose can you use the 3D printer. Okay, that's called as application. So prototyping. So prototyping is, as I said, if you want to do some major project and you want to know how does that look in the final production part, you can just test it using 3D printing procedure. Next, you can see healthcare. For example, if you are making some prosthetic hand or leg, so all those things you can do using 3D printing. Next, education. So now in all your schools we have 3D printing, right? So that's also a educational part. So now we are learning hands-on experience using these 3D printers. Then when it comes to automotive, we can see the dashboards and also all those dashboards, lightweight parts, all those things we can 3D print. Okay. So that's it for the presentation. Now let's move on to how we have to do the slicing procedure. So last week what did we see? We saw the designing, right? So in Tinkercad, so we have designed some product here. So okay. So this was been designed in our last session, right? So we did it till here. Now what we'll do, I'll show you how to export this design, and also how to use that exported design for 3D printing. So let's move to the next part. So this was the design which we did previously. So now what I'll do, I'll go to the, can see here the export option, right? You have to just click on this export, and then you can see for 3D print. So here there are multiple files like .obj, gltf, and .stl. So what you have to choose, that most of the printers use .stl file. So let's use the same stl file to download it. Okay, so now I'll download the file. That's stl. So it's completed now. So now what I'll do, so here you can see this is the software which we have in our school. So in your schools you'll be having some, maybe some different brand 3D printers. So you have to figure out which is the software that supports your 3D printers, and you have to download that. Okay, once you download, you have to open it, and this is how the screen looks like. This is how the interface looks like. Okay, so then what you have to do, you have to open the file. So we had downloaded the model, right? So you have to click on that.
Download one we cannot visible, bro.
I think I have to share. One
Just
second.
screen stop and again share.
Okay, okay. Is the screen visible now?
Yeah, now okay.
Okay. So now this is how the interface looks like. So here you can see that open file. Okay. Once you click on the open file, you'll be having the downloaded file over there. So you have to click that and open. That's it. So the design will be on this workspace. Okay. So now let's see how to view it in different angles. So here you can see there are so many views. So this is front view. So this is how the front view looks like. This is the top view. So this is side view. So this is the other side view. Okay. So now let's open the top view and let's check. So now when I click on this, all these options will get activated. Okay. So this is move option. So here you can see the arrow. You can just click on the arrow and you can move. Okay, wherever you want, you can place it. So then there is something called a scale. Scale is nothing but you want to increase the size of that product. You can go here, and so that the length was 70, right? Now I'll do it as 80. You can see the length being increased. Now I'll do this 70. Okay. So here you can do the scaling part. Then if you want to rotate that, you can rotate in this way. You just rotate in this way. Then give print to the 3D printer. Okay. So now I'll just ask Venkatesh to share his screen.
Yes, yes.
Venkatesh.
You stop the video. Yes, yes.
Student like you all. So he does the 3D printing and all in his school. So even you can also try all those things. So what I did, I just saved that file G code and transferred it to that pen drive. Okay. Then I turned on the 3D printer and inserted that 3D printing, this one, pen drive. So here I'll show you what are the settings options. So in settings, you can see there are so many options available. Like you can connect your mobile. So if you want to change your display, you can change your display theme. So all those things you have to scroll and check. Okay. Next part is calibration. So calibration is nothing but, for example, if it's not calibrated, what happens is that, if just imagine the bed being, just pause, bro. Touch, bro. Can pause. So this is called as the bed. Okay. So bed, if the bed is a bit tilted, so the nozzle will be moving here and there. Okay. If it's not properly kept straight, what happens? The printing won't be much more effective. Okay. So there are screws. Okay. So when you rotate that screws, the this LED will turn on. Okay. So similarly, all the edges there will be, you will be having the screws. You have to screw it up and see if the LED is turning on. So now we will be seeing how to set the temperature. Okay. So the nozzle, that was the nozzle. This is the bed. Okay. Both nozzle and bed will be having some temperature. So nozzle will be around 220 to 240 degrees Celsius for PLA material. So when it comes to the bed, it will be around 60 to 80 degrees Celsius. Okay, you have to set that and leave. So when it coming on to the maintenance part, so what you have to do, there's something called as WD-40 spray. So all those sprays you have to put it on the places where the this one nozzle is moving, the bed is moving, right? So all the spaces you have to put the 3D, this one WD-40, and then you have to move it using this move options. Okay, so what happens? All those WD-40. So now you can see that's moving, right? I'll put the WD-40 here and then I'll move. Okay, I had already put. That's why I'm just moving and showing it to you. So you have to put it in that moving parts, all those screws and all, and you have to spray that and move it. Okay, so what happens? We can avoid the rusting. Rusting is nothing but the material will get weakened by rusting, right? So what happens after rusting? It will remove the top layers and it will get weakened. So now I'll show you how to load and unload. Okay, so this is the loading part. So why was the loading done? For removing the filament and adding the filament. Okay, now I'm just showing how to print for the 3D print. Okay, I just clicked on that portion and then selected the file and then gave it for printing. So once the temperature goes to 200 degrees Celsius, the printing will start. Okay, now the temperature is rising to 220. It's around 290. Now it's 220. Once it is 220, it will move up. Okay. So now the printing will start. Initially, it will mark the edges. The edges and all, it will keep a point and go. You have to check whether the filament material is being deposited on that point. If it's not deposited, then you haven't calibrated properly. Okay. So all those dots that's keeping, right, that's calibrating itself. It's such a wonderful machine, right? Once calibration is done, it will come to its home position and then start the 3D printing procedure. Now, see, the printing is started. The first layer will be the skirt or brim. So that is
So-
for holding the support.
సో పిల్లలు ఇక్కడ మీరు చూసారో లేదో అక్కడ మెయిన్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ కూడా ఇచ్చారు. ప్రింట్ హీట్ బ్రెడ్ బోర్డ్, ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ బ్రెడ్ బోర్డ్ హీట్ డోంట్ పుట్ ద హ్యాండ్ అని వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చారు ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్. చూడండి అక్కడ ఎప్పుడైతే బ్రెడ్
Coming on
హీట్
to
లో
the
ఉందో
safety precautions. Yeah.
సేఫ్టీ
Do not
ప్రికాషన్స్
touch
మస్ట్
that
రిక్వైర్డ్.
hot bed.
సో ఇలా ప్రింట్
Now the
అవుతున్నప్పుడు
printing
కూడా
is started.
తొందరపడి మనం చెయ్యి అనేది పెట్టకూడదు. డోంట్ పుట్ ద హ్యాండ్ బిఫోర్ దే ఆర్ ప్రింటింగ్.
So I'll just show you now how the layers will be formed. Okay. So now you can see the thickness will be increasing slowly. Gradually the thickness is increasing. Can you see that? So that's how the 3D printing works. Okay. So while removing also you have to wear the gloves for safety, or else your hand will get burned. After printing, after few seconds, a few minutes, you can go and remove it. So there you can see at the edges and all, there are some extra materials and all, right? All those extra materials we have to remove. Okay. So that is called the post-processing part. Okay. So this is the complete manufacturing process from right from the designing to using the 3D printer. So now what I would like to say is that you have to keep the safety precautions at the first priority, and then you have to work on this. Okay. So when the bed and the nozzle is getting heated, you shouldn't go and keep your hand and touch. Okay. You might end up burning your hand.
Share any side glow, otherwise safety precautions using 3D printer.
Okay. So there's nothing much with the safety. Only thing is that when it's hot, you shouldn't touch. That's it. And while removing also, once the printing is done, after 5 minutes, you can just go and remove using the gloves. Okay. Or else your hands might get burned. So this is about the 3D printing and all. So I hope you all liked the part 2 session today. And I also would request you to try the similar keychain making in your schools also. And if you have any doubts, you can just come back to us. We'll be helping you out. Okay. Over to you, Venkatesh.
సో చూసారు కదా పిల్లలు. సో 3D ప్రింటర్ యూస్ చేసి ఒక ప్రోటోటైప్ ఎలా తయారు చేయాలో చక్కగా అన్నయ్య వివరించడం జరిగింది. సో ఇది మీరు మళ్ళీ నెక్స్ట్ టైం మనం రిప్లికేట్ చేసి ఇంకా సరికొత్త ప్రోటోటైప్ చేయాలి. సో మీరు ఎటువంటి ప్రాజెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నా మన ప్రాజెక్ట్ రిలేటెడ్ గా థింకర్ప్యాడ్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ యూస్ చేసి అందులో ప్రొడక్ట్ మనం నీట్ గా 3D ప్రింటర్ యూస్ చేసి నీట్ గా ప్రోటోటైప్స్ అన్ని తయారు చేయండి. ఆల్ ద బెస్ట్ పిల్లలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఆల్.
Thank you all. Thank you, Venkatesh, for this opportunity. We'll be looking for some more sessions ahead.
So we are expecting from your side as suggesting new ideas.
Yeah. Thank you all, students. We'll be coming up with some other interesting topic next week. Until then, bye.